Hey, I'm back. Again, I just want to let you know I'm not a content creator. I'm still learning. My modality of practice is typically in co-creation, collaboration, and constant exchange. So, conversation, dialogue, etc. This one-way mode of communication is very challenging for me, and I don't like to do lectures. I really don't want this to be a lecture. I want it to be very authentic. I'm not here to manage a brand, but share moments of deep authenticity with radical integrity to self and radical integrity to community. Just as a quick reminder, I want to ask you to never ask you to harm yourself or another person. I will not ask you for money. I will not reach out to you and add you on Facebook or Instagram or any other social media, except for possibly through connections on LinkedIn, unless we've met in person. Even still, I'm an introvert with ADHD and all that, and still might not happen. But be safe on the internet and try to find your communities locally. To continue on this arc, I really want to discuss a concept that has been just floating in my head, just how I move in the world, and that's clarity and compassion. The concept of clarity and compassion. I don't necessarily mean like clarity in exactly of what happened, not necessarily, but in what you did, how you did it, how you contributed to the situation, the scenario, the project, the relationship, etc. And clarity in that can clear a conscience, especially when you're trying to get that extra weight off your shoulders and when you lay down to sleep, and it allows you to extend more compassion to yourself. At least that's what I've learned. But something that I've always tried to remind myself of is that people will always choose the path, the decision, the story that won't require the hard work. This is just for survival. We cannot be supercomputers and overanalyze everything and go into superposition and blah, blah, blah. We can't do all that. So I'm going to alternate realities on physics. But anyways, it's just for reality's sake, you cannot. People often choose the path, the decision, the story that doesn't require the hard work. And what that does for us is it requires us to also move the world differently. It takes a different type of energy when interacting with this reality, this actual hard fact. It takes a different energy, a different consciousness, and attention and intention to always act with integrity and do things with honor. And that's where clarity and compassion comes in for me. There's a story that's been coming up a lot for me, or not story, but just an event that happened in my life that comes up a lot lately because it really formed how I move through the world. It actually put this compassion, acting in compassion concept really into. It gave me real evidence that it works. It's hard, but it works. But it takes me back to the Bernie campaign in 2016. And in 2015, so we were organizing in our area and on the Panel for Bernie campaign. And I was doing the sign waving. So I was planning all the sign wavings and doing all the, doing the media, helping with the media and all sorts of stuff. And it was fun. But of course, when you do a sign waving, you want the best part in town, and we chose the downtown area, of course, where they had this big intersection where there's medians and stuff to stand on, and we chose that area quite often. But this is a particular time when I was working at a church and also doing my own business. I don't recall, I might have been in school at the time. It was a lot going on. I mean, there's always a lot going on. At that time, I remember coming off of work after doing lawn service or small repairs or something. I was very typical masculine in style, and just had jeans, a jacket on, like a work jacket on, and sunglasses that were very typical. But I also was holding a sign. That was a sign that I made in haste, so the grammar was definitely off. But I just jumped out the van, wrote it, and moved on. I reused the sign a lot because, again, I did not have time or capacity to plan or remake a sign. But anyways, the sign said, I cannot vote for MLK, but I can vote for the man that walked with him. Again, incorrect grammar, but still. I held that sign every week. We would go downtown, and the whole group would just stay on the main big median, and I wanted to spread out and like get as much coverage as possible. So I'd go off to the other median across the street and just hold my sign and like just show that there's just a diversity of people out there that support this message at that time. And yeah, it was a typical sign waving, nothing interesting, but out of nowhere this tall white guy came, and I really didn't know where he came from. It was very concerning. I thought I had my bearings. I thought I had understood my environment. I thought I had a good idea of who and what was around me, but I turned around and he was there. He was screaming in my face, looking down on me. I believe our noses touched at one time, but I really wanted to exemplify. By then I had a little way of dealing with agitators and hecklers, and really wanted to put the compassion aspect in the front to show I'm not a threat. And I know we all have stories, we all have something to say. He had a crap way of saying it, but anyways, I stood my ground. I did not move. I leaned back as far as I could, and as he was screaming things in my face, spit throwing across my face, horrible things, homophobic, racist, etc. things, I just kept saying, peace be with you, peace be with you. It was a very emotional and traumatic experience. Really, there was terror. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to get stabbed. I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew my safety was at risk, but I just kept saying, peace be with you, peace be with you. I was so grateful I was wearing sunglasses because I was tearing up. I didn't know what to do, but I just kept saying, peace be with you, peace be with you. And a dear friend who helped lead organizing the Panhandle for Bernie thing, she saw what was happening. She heard the screaming, and she ran across the street. She didn't even wait for the lights to change. She just ran across the street mid-intersection. Because she knew I was at risk, and even though she was a woman, she knew she was white, and she knew she had privilege there, and she knew if she stepped in, it could de-escalate the situation more, because if I had reacted, it would definitely have gotten worse. She came across the street. He saw her. He stopped talking. He eventually just walked away. He just stopped talking. About a week or so later, we were at a vegan restaurant, ironically, and this white guy was staring. I was like, oh god, this is concerning. I mean, no matter what, I'm used to homophobia, racism, transphobia, all the things in the South, especially in the South. It's everywhere, but especially in the South. I was like, okay, this is not good. I'm concerned. But I kept an eye out. It was actually me and the same Bernie crew, about 5 or 8 of us, and this guy stood up and started walking across. Like, okay, guys, this is getting serious. Like, he's been watching the whole time. I don't know what to do. And it was very interesting. It was a very healing experience, and surprising experience, really. But he said, I don't know if you remember me. And I didn't recognize him, because apparently he was the same white guy who had been screaming in my face a week or so prior. At the time he had a hat on or whatever. So I didn't pay it any mind, just let it go. It affected me, but I let it go. But this guy, he was just like, hey, I really want to thank you for how you handled the situation, how you didn't react, and thought about it, and I want to buy you all lunch. And I was just blown away. It was an emotional experience for me. It showed that acting with compassion can definitely change somebody's mind. It really the intense intention to move into active compassion from me allowed this person to reflect and return with clarity in himself and act in compassion weeks later. It was something I believed in theory, but I hadn't seen so evident. He was threatened by me just existing, and to not pose any more threat other than I will stand in who I am and what I'm standing for. and to show I'm not a threat, I don't want to be your enemy, allowed this man to really come back and act in compassion towards us, to all of us. I mean, he didn't interact with the rest of the group that day. It was just me and then my friend who came across the street, but he came back and it changed his perspective. I don't know on exactly what, but I know he was vehemently against whatever we were standing for that day, and we were all standing for Bernie. So it was interesting. There was he just paid for 8 people's lunches that were just associated with me, which was strange. But and the restaurant's wasn't terribly cheap, of course, being vegan in the South at that time in 2015, 2016. Yeah, no, it was. But yeah, it was quite an experience. And what I'm asking is not necessarily not to this level of devotion to acting in compassion, but something like it to the best of your ability. It reflects back to the call to action I'm asking for as many of us to do, to act locally, with little actions in our communities. Maybe not necessarily with everyone. Honestly, there are people I've given up being proactively compassionate towards, but neither do I try to be proactively dismissive. But really, the idea of what acts of compassion can we do to really change the world? So that's the topic for today. I don't know. Again, these are not scripted. I just have notes to make sure I don't go down the rabbit hole. I do have lots of rabbit holes. But it's interesting. It's hard to also do this without somebody to talk to and to bounce thoughts off of and to build with. I love building with people, and this is hard to just record myself displaying my thoughts that are not polished, that are not... they're definitely weathered from experience, but not polished and presented like a presentation. Especially when, anyways, this series is more about living authentically human and bring the spiritual aspect into the experience, or spiritual element. I don't know about spirit, but anyways, psychological, mental, all the things, emotional intelligence, all the things, into praxis. And I hope we enjoy this journey together. I'm learning. So really, just let me learn while I share my thoughts that are not, there's not a bunch of sources linked at the bottom kind of stuff. But yeah, anyways, again, I'd like to continue this discussion of just whenever you move through the world, just do things with a little bit of honor. Not necessarily me. Again, find your communities locally, but with radical integrity to self and to community. My next video, I think, or discussion point will be a concept that I heard, a statement that I am tickling with, which is the concept of patience as stone. It brings peace, just thinking about that word, that term right now. And I have some ideas about that. When I'll form them, I don't know. I got too much work to do. I'm in school, all the things. Trying to pay bills and dealing with the fact that I don't have a house at the moment, but I'm paying rent on it. So it's just, gotta love capitalism. Anyways, yeah, let's find our communities out there, and no matter what you do, respect yourself. Respect people around you, and just do things with a little bit of honor. I don't like... There's a lot of things I have about that term. I mean, that little hook. But this isn't about me. This is about what we can do out there. Let's surprise ourselves. Can you surprise yourself?